inflation, around the economics argument. But until we move away from everything the Democratic Party being around, we're here to protect and advance the rights of this group as identified by their race, their religion, their ethnicity, their nationality. I think we're stuck in this inexorable downward spiral.
Yeah, I mean, to some degree, it's a good thing that society has moved in the direction that it has. Wow. It is a bad thing for Democrats politically that we've been slow on the uptick about it. And
Tesla?
Yeah, that's real. Yeah, that's a real privilege of them to sit there and talk about how to get away from race. Guess what? I got news for. I won't be getting away from race. You know, I won't be getting away from. In fact, I'm gonna go even deeper when it comes to talking about race, because race is absolutely a part of the conversation.
What do you say on that phone call if you were on there? What would you say to Scott and Jessica?
Yeah, I would tell Scott and Jessica they don't know what the hell they're talking about. They need to speak about the business that pays them. So if they want to they're not the entire Democrat Party. So when they say, well, we don't need to be talking about the Democrat Party and race, I need to remind Scott that 90% of the Democrat Party is black folks. So let's first get that straight. So he's speaking on behalf of a party that white men simply do not have the majority of. So if Scott wants to speak on behalf of white men, then he should probably speak on behalf of MAGA. That's my answer. He's not a representation of the Democrat Party as it stands today. As far as actual voters that actually go to the polls and vote Democrat, the majority of those people are black people, are like they like to say, people of color. It's not Scott. He's out of pocket. He's out of place. So this maybe should have been a conversation for him to have offline and not online, because now it's online and now I'm speaking and now you got to go call Scott and tell Scott that you didn't have any control of what I said. And
No. I'm going to have the conversation with him. Because I said, look, I don't think that he is, but I think that maybe he's unaware. We'll see. I'm going to have this conversation with him.
I think he's very aware. I think he's aware. I think Carvel's aware. I think all these white men that sit up here talking about, hush, 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 be quiet, don't say nothing about race because I want to get my white brethren on board to vote Democrat. I think they're very much aware. I think they're intelligent enough to be aware. I didn't have a problem with it, Don. That's why I said Joe Biden should have stayed on the ticket. I said that. I said that Joe Biden should not have gotten off the ticket. You know why? Because he makes the Scotts of the world and the MAGA people of the world very comfortable. Let's not forget why.
Discussion around inflation, around the economic.
As usual, I can't help but to agree. Welcome to Let It Be Known. It is certainly too late to say woulda, shoulda, coulda, but that conversation, great conversation right there, and spot on, without question, spot on. And look what's going on before we even get to what we are highlighting this morning. Well, first, let me just run that down for a second. We're highlighting the fact that RNG says Black women are always speaking truth to power. Public sympathy for Luigi Mangione is just outrageous. It's outrageous, and they're saying now that it could pose the possibility of jury nullification despite the overwhelming evidence mounted against him. We're going to talk about that this morning. Meta is ending fact checking on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads because Donald Trump was elected president, according to Mark Zuckerberg. These guys. McDonald's is the latest in corporate America to rid itself of DE&I programs. It's a farce, folks. It's been a farce. I'm talking about how much of a farce that DE&I, this Black Lives Matter, all of this, 2020, George Floyd, and all this rallying around Black lives. It was a farce. I knew it was a farce then. I talked about it then. There is video of me talking about it then. And speaking of video, we're going to talk this morning about a viral video of Mike Epps recanting his drug use while filming most of his movies. It has everyone talking. Though he made these confessions several months ago, the video has now surfaced, and folks are talking about whether it's bad for the culture. We want your take on that. I want to hear what you have to say about what Mike Epps had to say. A couple of other notes, though. I saw this, and Greer made sure I saw it. You remember the whole thing? So Jeff Bezos, Bezos, or whatever you want to call the guy, Jeff Bezos, See, we have a friend that we grew up with. Some people call him Bezel, and some people call him Basil. So Bezos is what I guess commonly referred to as the Amazon and Washington Post uh, head. Well, you remember he refused to allow the Washington Post, to um, endorse Vice President Kamala Harris. He just came out of the blue, or at least people thought he came out of the blue with it. And of course, like everybody else, kiss the ring. He kissed the ring, and he's done it in a way that others perhaps have not. He has come full MAGA on folks. So Bezos, as you know, he also owns Amazon, and you watch Amazon Prime and all that stuff, dude. Well, he is giving Donald Trump's family $40 million. And I love how it was a Joy Reid on her Instagram called it so like money laundering. But $40 million under the guise of doing a documentary about the life of somebody that nobody really cares about, Melania Trump. $40 million, and the press release that goes along with it is really, really, really interesting. Um, it says more or less that uh, Melania has gotten more comfortable with opening up to the public. Listen, who cares? I mean, who cares? Who cares? But it's more than that. $40 million. Just like ABC News gave him $15 million a couple of weeks ago to settle a lawsuit that he had no chance of winning, that they knew he had no chance of winning. It is kiss the ring time, big time. And $40 million, oh my God, that's more than kissing the ring, right? Good Lord, you don't want to drink after this guy. Let me tell you right now. $40 million for and as it says there, it's pretty much, it appears pretty much open bribery. Are you kidding me? But this is what's going on. Folks, pay attention. Every corner that you see, it's you see that how the world he sent his kids to was it Greenland yesterday. He says he's going to take Greenland and parts of Canada. He's going to rename the Panama Canal. Was it no, not the Panama Canal. The Gulf of Mexico. He's going to name it the Gulf of America. And when asked about it, they said, well, how are you proposing to do it? Is this going to be a peaceful thing that you're going to take Canada, that you're going to take the Gulf of Mexico, that you're going to take Greenland? He said, well, we hope that it'll be peaceful, but if we have to use the military, we'll use the military. This guy is, he is really going in. And you see, what's his face? Elon going around the globe now, spreading this stuff and trying to influence elections in Germany, Great Britain. He's even talked about invading Great Britain. You imagine that? So they're talking about the possibility of invading Canada and annexing it, These are their two greatest allies, Canada and Great Britain. You see what's happening here, folks? It is unconscionable. But this is what happens. You know, never mind. More pressing though. The wildfires in Los Angeles. I lived in Los Angeles for 7 years. Earthquake, wildfires, I lived through it all. Those wildfires are uh, disconcerting, to say the least. And you just feel bad for the folks in that line. That the fires, they spread so quickly. Um, and then think about it. It's like, and Orange can relate to this because they tell folks in New Orleans before hurricanes, and we already know the story of Katrina. "E- e- Get out, get out. This is coming." The same thing in Los Angeles with these wildfires, and yet people don't abandon. And the difference between New Orleans and Los Angeles, here's one stark difference. These wildfires happen frequently along the coast there, right? Pacific Coast Highway, Pacific Palisades, Thousand Oaks. So, in other words, rich people stuff. It is in the line of $1 million homes. It's always is, always is. And even they don't listen. So it's not just the average folks who don't, who refuses to evacuate, but these ultra rich folks.
We tried, bro. I'm sorry. We tried our best. Yeah, and when this tree falls, it's over. I'm sorry, bro. Gotta get out of here. Oh shit! Holy shit! Did that tree fall? All right, dude.
It's horrible, 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 horrible. Um, all the best to the folks of Los Angeles, that's for sure, and hoping that they can it can be as minimal loss of life as possible. And if folks listen to the authorities, you might not have any loss of life. The homes can be rebuilt. And these, people say, well, you could say that, but no, it's no, but for the most part, these are very wealthy folks that tend to be in the line of these fires. And this one emanates apparently from what I've seen from Thousand Oaks, and Thousand Oaks is like living in Manhattan. That the prices. So I would imagine if you can afford to live in Thousand Oaks, you can afford to rebuild. Um, RNG says grab all personal important documents and leave. You can always rebuild, and don't forget to take your pets. You should always have, and certainly we have been taught this, a go bag. Things that that can help you survive a couple 2, 3 days. You know, flashlights, batteries, a blanket, a first aid kit, some non-perishable food, and just grab and go. Your important papers, like RNG says, medicine, and the folks of Los Angeles should be more equipped, or as equipped as anybody, with all of the natural disasters that happen there. Trixie says they are definitely rich. Did you see they left all those cars in the middle of the road? Listen, it's you or the car. It's you or the car. Which one? And some people hold on to their material possessions for dear life. So, Michelle Madison says she lived there 3 years, and have friends there. So we certainly hoping for the best for your friends. Um, and so again, all the best there. Our thoughts are with you. We have, and we have newspaper partners in Los Angeles, colleagues in Los Angeles, and so we certainly are hoping for the very best those wildfires, it can get out of control in a split second. So increasing, this is again where this country, this world has shifted to. Increasing public sympathy for Luigi Mangione, the man accused of fatally shooting UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson, could pose the possibility, according to experts, of jury nullification, despite all the evidence against him. Everyone pretty much have concluded the guy's guilty. But this romanticizing of white killers in America is an epidemic that reflects not only deep-seated racial inequities, but also the disturbing glorification of violence when the perpetrator is white. Luigi has become the latest in a long line of white men whose crimes are spun into tales of misunderstood heroes or victims of circumstance. Well, this is more than bad. It's dangerous. Dang, I sound like Michael Jackson. It's certainly not a thriller. But it's white privilege at its most blatant, dressed up as public fascination and fueled by a justice system that has historically bent over backwards to excuse white violence. Mangione is accused of cold-blooded murder. He killed a man. He killed a husband, a father. And yet, instead of universal condemnation, this guy is being elevated as a modern day Robin Hood. Why? Because he's white, because he's considered good looking, because his alleged crime conveniently fits a narrative of rebellion against the American healthcare system. None of that excuses the fact that he took a life. But social media, fan accounts, crowdfunding campaigns, legal defense funds, and sympathies have all come running for this guy like he's some tragic folk hero. It's a slap in the face to the justice system, to Mr. Thompson's family, to every marginalized community that knows this leniency, this type of affection would never be extended to them. And it's not isolated. It's an American tradition. From George Zimmerman to Daniel Pantaleo, Darren Wilson, and beyond, the justice system has repeatedly shown that white men who take lives, especially Black lives, are often met with sympathy, excuses, and a stunning lack of accountability. We know the story of George Zimmerman, killed 17-year-old Trayvon Martin, was acquitted and celebrated. You might remember Daniel Pantaleo choked Eric Garner to death in Staten Island. He faced no criminal charges. And a year later, he lost his job. Timothy Loman, Darren Wilson, others have walked free despite overwhelming evidence of their unjustified killings. These men were given the benefit of the doubt that is categorically denied to Black men and boys who are often criminalized before they even step into a courtroom, if they make it there alive. And the privilege doesn't just stop at avoiding accountability. In cases like Mangione's, white privilege morphs into cultural adoration. The narrative shifts from the brutality of the crime to the perceived nobility or charm of the criminal. It's as American as apple pie or as American as the insurrection of January 6th. When predominantly white rioters, of course, attacked democracy itself and were met with leniency, and now facing the real probability of being pardoned for their actions. Mangione is he's not a victim. He is not a revolutionary. He is an accused murderer. And any attempt to frame him as a sympathetic figure is not only harmful, it is dangerous. But it also sends a very clear message. one we know all too well. If you're white, you can commit heinous crimes and still be seen as redeemable, even laudable. And it's a shame. This goes back, I mean, look, Trayvon Martin, as we said, Jordan Neely, Tamir Rice, and countless others whose perpetrators were celebrated. We know Daniel Penny, Trump and J.D. Vance celebrated this guy after he was acquitted of killing Jordan Neely on New York City subway. This type of sympathy is a poison. It's a poison. And so they're actually telling us that Mangione may escape with either at the very least, a hung jury. Because these court experts are saying that they are probably not going to find 12 jurors who are going to agree to convict him. I guess we will see, but this is absolutely atrocious to make this guy out to be some sort of hero. Um, yeah, Orange says white folks raised $3 million for Daniel Penny. Trixie says, unpopular opinion, it's because he killed a healthcare CEO who denied many people's insurance that may have cost them their life, but he should be locked up as well. Yeah. Listen, how many of us are not frustrated with the healthcare system? It's not the only system that we're frustrated with, though. So what are we to do? Certainly, if anybody who looks like us go out and do what Luigi did, there would be no, oh, let's raise some funds on GoFundMe and let's celebrate this guy and let's make sure that he doesn't get convicted. And she said, put me on the jury, he's going down. I mean, look at that sign. Luigi freed us. He freed you from what? Because whoever takes over Mr. Thompson's place is going to have the same policies. Southbound 3000 says, remember John Q. Yeah, but John Q didn't kill the healthcare CEO. And John Q's it was his son, right? Whose life was on the line. Making this guy out to be a hero, just like they did Daniel Penny, just like they tried to do with the what's his name, the killer of George Floyd, who, by the way, is going to have his appeal heard, despite pleading guilty and being found guilty. He pled guilty to federal charges, was found guilty on state charges. But they've agreed to not only hear his appeal, but to do further injustice to George Floyd's family by using his medical history against him. And so, but again, this is what's to be expected going forward. Is happening already. These are major previews. It's like going to the movies and seeing coming attractions. Because January 20th is the main attraction. Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg on Tuesday said that his company is ending its fact-checking program and replacing it with a community-driven system similar to that of Elon Musk's Twitter or X. Zuckerberg, his decision to end Meta's fact-checking program is an outrageous, hypocritical abandonment of responsibility. And it shows that lies are now as welcome as truth on Zuckerberg's platforms. He's replacing fact checkers with a community-driven system like on X, and he's pouring gasoline on the fire. This is ridiculous. His justification, this is what he said. He says the 2024 presidential election was a, quote, cultural tipping point toward prioritizing speech. He's crazy. It's not about speech, it's about profit. Fact checking is inconvenient for platforms that thrive on engagement, and lies are more engaging than the truth. Let's face it. Misinformation spreads faster, triggers stronger emotion, and it keeps users glued to their screens. By dismantling the very systems meant to curb all of that toxic behavior, Zuckerberg is choosing profit over public good. And remember in 2016, Facebook faced so much complaints for its role in spreading misinformation during Trump's first presidential win. And that's when Zuckerberg promised, oh, we're going to get some fact checkers, promised to take some action. Where did that go? By 2023, the program had expanded to nearly 100 organizations working in over 60 languages. Now he's thrown it all away. He's saying truth no longer is worth the effort. And the timing, of course, is right as Trump returns to power. It's reckless. It's totally reckless. Trixie says because people tend to believe their own lies and then want us to believe them. And Orange says, so now I'm allowed to say Zuckerberg is a white supremacist and not be blocked? If that's how you feel, right? He's pretty much saying you could say whatever you want. It doesn't have to be true, he says. Let's face it. What's your take? What's your take on this? We want to hear from y'all. He says it's like bringing Ratchet TV to Meta. It's already been on Twitter. Yeah, Twitter is just it's such a dumpster. It really is. It has but again, this is the preview. There's no doubt. That's just the bottom line. Meta went full MAGA Billy, he says, Orangey. And speaking of that, to another subject, McDonald's has jumped on the hate bandwagon too. That's what it is, hate. Corporate America has made its choice. And of course, it's pretty obvious. When McDonald's and Walmart and other corporate giants roll back DE&I initiatives, they aren't just stepping back from their promises. They are stepping on the very communities they vow to uplift. We can stop pretending that this is about legal shifts or changing political landscape. These corporations have decided that Black lives, equity, and justice are only worth as much as a fleeting PR moment. That's it. They could care less about dismantling systemic racism. In fact, their actions only stoke racism. We all remember in 2020, millions of people marched for racial justice. Corporate executives were falling over themselves to make pledges, donate money, and issue statements of solidarity. But those words, of course, were hollow. We said it then that this was likely a moment, not a movement. And corporate America has proven us right. These companies never cared about systemic change. They cared about controlling the narrative, avoiding boycotts, and keeping their stock prices high. Now that moment has passed. I thought, oh, it's a movement. No, it's a movement. There's no movement. I mean, I have black CEOs say, "Oh no, 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 it's a movement." Mhm. Uh, you could feel that this stuff was bandwagon jumping at best back in 2020. And my theory back then was take as much advantage of them as you possibly can. If they're offering you 1 million, tell them give you 10. It's just as simple as that. Something to sustain yourself. If they're offering you 10 million, tell them to give you 30 million. Sustain yourself because this is a moment, not a movement. No, 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 you're wrong. You're wrong. Stacey Brown, you're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. Doggone it. It didn't take long. It did not take long at all. The moment has passed. And so has their so-called commitment to equity. McDonald's decision to retire specific diversity goals and pause their supplier diversity programs is not isolated. It's part of this broader retreat that signals to Black Americans and other underrepresented groups, you were never our priority. Walmart, Ford, John Deere, others have followed suit. They've gutted DE&I initiatives under the convenient guise of, quote, legal shifts after the Supreme Court's 2023 decision on affirmative action. And to show you how corny that is, that affirmative action decision really pertained to college admissions. Had nothing to do really with corporate America. Nothing. And yeah, that's part of my point, Orangey. They thought that their businesses were going to be burnt down. That's why they made these fake pledges. That's just the bottom line. And that goes for all of them, even the ones you think that oh, they're cool. You know, Mark Cubans of the world. Mark Cuban came on our program and he did some business with some of our members and then disappeared. You can't even back in 2020, you call up, he answered the phone. Now it's like he's not available. All of a sudden, somebody else is answering the phone. Send him an email, he responds right away. Now the email it just goes unanswered. He came on and told this story too about how he had this racial reckoning too. How his kids showed him this. They went to one demonstration, a Black Lives Matter demonstration, and he had a moment of clarity himself. This is all about uh, uh, these are cowards. These corporations are bowing to pressure from conservative activists who have waged war against what they call woke capitalism. They've chosen profits over people. As simple as that. Black employees, listen to this. Black employees in the S&P 100 workforce saw their share decline from 17% in 2021 to 16 in 2023. The number of Black managers, which had been rising, is now shrinking. And they aren't just numbers. They represent lost opportunities, shattered hopes, and this falsehood of a system that consistently marginalizes Black talent. And these corporations blamed layoffs, return to office mandates, and other factors. But the truth is clear: when it came time to make cuts, Black employees were the first to go. When the spotlight dimmed on racial equity, these companies abandoned their commitments faster than you can say Black Lives Matter. They're going away from DE&I because it was never about justice. It was about optics. After George Floyd, these companies had no choice but to appear as though they cared. They threw money at programs. They made these bold promises. They took out ads declaring their allegiance to racial equity. But when the political wind shifted, they wasted no time ripping off their mask. That's just the truth. This is the bottom line. Yeah, Michelle, he's a hypocrite. It's just that's just the way it is. And again, tell us what you think. That's how we see it. And it's a type of this is the thing, black people in general, as a whole, not everybody, right? But as a whole, that's the most forgiving. Welcome back to the barbecue type people. But just remember, folks, these corporations made their choice and it's crystal clear. Systemic racism isn't their problem because they benefit from it. They've decided that equity is expendable, that justice can wait, and that Black lives only matter when the cameras are rolling. It's something you should never forget. And as we've been saying for a long time, I should say, there are no allies, folks. There are no allies, no real allies. Nobody that you can really go into the trenches with or will go into the trenches with us. Turning our attention, I really want your thoughts on this too. So let's hear what you have to say on our mainly on our YouTube page, our Facebook page as well. If you're watching on Facebook, Mike Epps made an admission, and he made this admission a few months ago, but it's just becoming more known as a video of this admission kind of went viral. He said that while filming most of his movies, he was under the influence of cocaine. His honesty about his struggles it's commendable, right? And his survival shows some sort of resilience.
On
His
drugs,
candid
I've been through
recounting of
hell.
here
You
we
know what
go.
I'm saying? I did most of the movies on cocaine. All About the Benjamins, I used to sit in Ice Cube's trailer in the morning and be crying, tears. He like, Mike, wipe your face, man. You a king, nigga. Stop doing this shit to yourself. I'm sitting there wiping myself because I was I had survivor's remorse. I was so sad that I left all them niggas here in this city and I was famous. And when I would come home, I wanted them to be happy for me and they was mad at me. So I said, damn, I gotta destroy myself for you to like me. I was like, damn, my favorite nigga, it seemed like he liked me more when I'm coming down off coke and I'm crying and I hate myself. He was like, oh man, I love you, nigga. I'm praying for you. But when I wasn't high and I was working out and I looked good, he's like, nigga, you think you better than me. I said, nigga, how is my success a reflection of your failure? And that's what happens to the kids. They around here killing themselves, trying to fit in with somebody who's fucked up. That's the truth.
First, let me just, before we go on, we do not condone the use of the N-word on this program. Yeah, he used it. We don't condone it. We don't condone the use of profanity either. Although I know some will say, well, you got Barrington. But we don't condone it at all. I don't use the word. I don't use those words at all. And we certainly condemn the use of the N-word by anybody in any form. Just to make that clear. I really wish people would stop. Really wish that whether you're in hip hop, whether you whatever, just stop. There are many other words you can use. We are we're at a time where Look, the guy who refused to shake Vice President Kamala Harris's hand, you know what he was saying in his head, right? He was using the N-word. There's no question. There's no question about it. So, nonetheless, here's another problem, another issue with Mike Epps's candid recounting of his self-destructive behavior, because it risks being seen as normal or worse, a glamorization of drug use. The problem is not simply Mike Epps's personal battle, but the larger cultural ripple effect of his words. Celebrity culture holds enormous influence, especially among impressionable fans who see stars as aspirational figures. When someone as talented as Mike Epps confesses to creating some of his most iconic work while on drugs, it sends a dangerous message that drug use and success can coexist, even flourish side by side. That's not just bad for the culture, it's devastating for the countless young people who look to celebrities as proof of what's possible. It's not a new issue, we know, because Hollywood has long flirted with a dangerously casual relationship to drugs and alcohol. They portray substance abuse as part of the creative process or the price of fame. Uh, RNG says it takes a lot to tell the truth about yourself and your substance abuse problems. I agree about the N-word. Trixie says Denzel said he was on heroin, some of his movies as well, but I feel like a lot of these stars do the same. And honestly speaking, I see a lot of addicts on hard drugs in my area. And when they clean themselves up, a lot of people actually bring them back down because they don't like the fact that they're doing well. I just think that um, I just think that it's it's a glorification in some ways of it. And some things, do you tell everything? People say do a tell all. Do you tell it all? Do people really tell it all? You don't. There are some things that you are doing behind closed doors that you will never want to go public with. And he said, listen, you can argue with all you want. This guy said that when he went home to Cleveland or wherever, Ohio, wherever, they act like he owed them something or whatever, right? But here's the thing. No, glorification doesn't have to be his message. And I'm pretty sure it wasn't intended to be a glorification, but still, there are some things when you are saying yourself that these people are looking up to you, we don't need to know that you was uh crying in Ice Cube's trailer all with powder all over your nose and this and that and every big movie you made, you was on coke. What message are you sending to people who are looking up to you? I just think it's useless information. It's useless. I know many don't agree. I think it's useless. And then Hollywood has glorified it. You see the characters like Dr. House, even going back to Sherlock Holmes. He was supposedly like a druggie. They glorified it. And then they can go to listen, we talk about these Diddy parties. What do you think was going on in these Diddy parties? Trixie says the problem is they have to leave those people behind and find good people to be around them, but they're scared. Yeah. And we talked about MC Hammer um not wanting to leave his crew, his people he grew up with behind. And it cost him everything. And what some have like Pharrell has gotten it right. He he does so much for the community. But he doesn't live there. You don't have to have these people around. You don't have to have these people around. You can still love them from afar. I just never forget that Bernie Mac was on Oprah with gosh, it was another comedian I think he was on Oprah with one time, and he talked about them asking for money all the time, asking for money. Um, she says we're gonna have a panel discussion on this, and we should. But the point is, yeah, you can leave these people behind. You don't have to forget about them, but you don't have to have them in your circle, especially if they're going to either lead you or encourage you somehow and to because ultimately you're going to destroy what you've built. We've seen it time and again. These celebrities, Whitney's gone, Michael's gone, Prince is gone, and it all is drug related. So how about how about telling the story about how this is no good for you? I don't need to know that every movie you made was you was coked up. And well, and again, I know that you're going to disagree. Trixie says, unfortunately, because there are a lot of addicts that need to hear this so they can feel like they could do it too, because most times uh, they're not strong enough mentally. Okay, and listen, that's what it's about. The dialogue. We don't have to agree. I certainly see the point. Greer's right with you, Trixie. She's right with you on that. She is coming hard at me in the comments in our private chat here. So, um, look, it's good to have different of positions, and we certainly have that here. And I listen. Epps' struggle with survivor's remorse and the toxic dynamics of envy and resentment among those left behind is heartbreaking and revealing. She says she's a Red Bull girl. It is heartbreaking. And I hope that he has overcome that problem, though, for his own sake. Very talented individual. A red pill. I thought you said Red Bull. I don't know what red pill is. I don't know what that is. I thought you meant Red Bull. OMG. Okay. The Matrix. Um, again, I hope Mike Epps has overcome. If he has, if he hasn't, I hope he does. Because again, a very talented individual. And part of my point is this: when these type of celebrities, when they do make it through the fire, the focus is too often on their talent and success rather than on the lives destroyed or the message sent along the way. So this guy's extremely talented. He's one of those comedians that you laugh at on sight. Before he starts his lines, you laugh. There's something about him. They've been showing this recreation of him in Day Day. And it's so funny. He walks into the thing and you just laugh. At least I do, because he's going to be hilarious. It was like Eddie Murphy in his heyday. Remember watching? Wasn't supposed to be, but I remember watching Delirious, and he walks on the stage, and you automatically start laughing. And that's Mike Epps. That's Bernie. That was Bernie Mac. There are some comedians. That was Richard Pryor. That's Dave Chappelle. There's only a handful like that you automatically know you're going to laugh. It's going to be hilarious. It's not going to be just funny. It's going to be hilarious. And Mike Epps happens to be one of them. So hopefully this he's gotten control of it, and we don't have to hear that his next blockbuster film was done while he was coked up. How about that? Can we agree on that one, y'all? Can we also agree to like and share the broadcast, and also agree finally to come back tomorrow for some more of Let It Be Known? Until then, thanks for watching. We'll see you then.